Hi, I'm Trina Greene Brown. I'm the founder and executive director of Parenting for Liberation, and I'm so excited to introduce our next series of Black August. I'm here with Aja Trotter, who will be offering the medicine of sleep, dreams, and rest. Aja was one of the healing practitioners on the Caregivers Fund and offered this medicine one-on-one with Black parents, and so now she's going to offer it with me. So I'm excited and a little nervous about engaging in this practice with her, but let's do it together. Aja.
Thank you so much, Trina, for having me. I'm also nervous and excited to be offering this medicine with you. How do you feel about starting with a little grounding practice?
I definitely could use that.
Okay, let's do that. If you want to put your feet on the ground, and we'll just do it for about a minute. You can close or lower your eyes and just start to connect with your breath without trying to change it or do anything to it, but just notice it. And perhaps you can make the breaths a bit more full or deep. And allow yourself to relax into your seat and into this moment. And the only instruction is to keep breathing and to keep surrendering into the seat and into the moment. And now I'll invite us to both take 3 full breaths together before we come back with our eyes open. So let's inhale fully and hold and exhale. Inhale again. Hold and exhale. And one more really deep full breath in. Hold and exhale. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and we can be back here together.
Thank you.
How you feel?
I feel good. I feel grounded, and I feel the breeze of being outdoors. And so, thank you for inviting me into your home as well to be in this space. So yeah, I feel good.
Great. Okay. So yeah, I do dream work in groups and also with individuals. Really experience dreaming as a big part of the transformation in my own life, and just want this medicine to be available to more people. I think it's really powerful. There's a lot of wisdom that can be reclaimed through this medicine, and also parents I know often don't get a lot of sleep. I'm not a parent, but I can imagine that it's, hard to find those moments to get good rest. And so there's also just like resting in addition to dreaming. Resting is really important to just try to access and try to find those moments where you can have that. So I want to ask you, Trina, like, just what's your rest life like?
Yeah. I mean, you got it right that parents don't get a lot of sleep or rest. And particularly right now with COVID, like it's really jacked up my sleep schedule and my child's sleep schedule, which wasn't that great to begin with, to be honest, right? So I normally am like, I've always been a late owl is what my family calls it. Like we're all up pretty late. And so depending on what time you have to wake up, that really limits the amount of time that I get to sleep. So on a regular schmegular day, I probably go to sleep around midnight. But now during COVID, I find myself going to sleep at like 2 in the morning. And I've seen like that's impacted my son too, because since he's not in school, it's like, yeah, sure, stay up. And so we're like up pretty late, and then we sleep in though. So I feel like we get a lot of sleep because we make it up. Like we'll wake up at 11 a.m. or noon, depending on what our work or school schedules are. But yeah, going to sleep like setting a time like I'm gonna go to sleep at 10 or 11 is just not realistic. So it takes a lot of time to fall to sleep. And then lately I've been catching myself sleeping in the middle of the day, which is like new. Like taking a nap, an adult nap, is not real for me. And now that we're like just home all the time, like we're not going anywhere, we're not ripping and running. Like if I'm just after doing 5 calls on Zoom, I'll feel like tired and I'll be like, I think I'm just gonna lay here on this couch, and then I'll fall asleep. So I guess to answer your question, it's been a hit or a miss with like the amount of sleep I'm getting. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so it sounds like things have changed. Like there's a new pattern that's kind of emerging. But how is it? Like, does that work for you? Does it feel okay that you go to sleep later and nap during the day, or does it feel off?
You know, like I feel good about it, but I judge myself. You know, the judgment of like, oh, I should have been doing something productive during that time. I could have been cooking dinner or sending some emails, or aren't you on the clock technically? Why are you sleeping? So I do feel a little judgment. But I feel good when I sleep and I wake up like, minus the guilt, I physically feel good. It's like all the like mental, like you just wasted 3 hours, you know? So if I could remove the judgment of sleeping, like, or even when I sleep into 11, if I could remove the judgment of like, you should have been in some meetings from 9, 10, and 11, that's 3 hours of work time. Yeah. If I can remove that for myself, I probably would feel good about it. Not only physically feeling good, but also like mentally not beating myself up about it, you know?
Yeah. So I definitely heard you say like, if you could remove that judgment, so what's the barrier to removing that judgment?
I don't know.
Where does it come from? Do you know why that judgment comes?
I mean, American capitalist productivity, that it's just how I've been wired or programmed. It's just like to be always, you know, to produce. Being like the founder of a small organization, like feeling like, oh, I should be doing something. Feeling like beholden to Black parents, like feeling a lot of responsibility, like as a Black parent who's running a Black parent org, like this is luxury, you know, like you got to sleep in, you know, as Black parents that got to work all these hours, like just a lot of like, I don't know, a lot of comparison to people and, girl, just white supremacy.
Right.
At the end of the day, white supremacy.
That's what it all boils down to.
Yeah,
I hear that, and I think that I don't know, it's been really important for me, like in my own sleep and rest journey, to feel like sleep is really productive. And I mean, it took some time to get there, but once I realized like how much my body benefits from it, like how much my emotions and my moods benefit from just being rested, how much more like engaged in life I am because I sleep well. And also for me, like I'm someone who dreams, like I get a lot of information and a lot of experience in my dreams. And so that's kind of shifted for me where now I see sleep as like one of the most productive parts of my day, like one of the most important, and it's a huge reframe, but reframing it to see sleep as a productive time, but also a productive time and just a restful time, like in understanding like how important rest is, especially for Black people, where that's been denied to us for so long. Like we've been, you know, we've been used for so much different kinds of free labor for generations and generations, where it makes it hard, even like unconsciously, for us to be able to allow ourselves to sleep. Like, you know, those external things that you were naming are really true, and then how we internalize those things too. Like you were saying, the judgment comes up in you because of how you've internalized it. But just offering that as a reframe, like, you know, to see sleep as productive, and like wondering like, what do you think the benefits would be if you were to like just think about it differently?
If I thought about my sleep and rest as productive, it would like push me to practice what I preach to other people. You know, like I do all this work around like self-care and healing and community care and take care of yourself. Like you're the most vital offering to the world is you. And so you're telling people that their aliveness is important. And I don't know, I need to practice that to myself. I need to apply that to myself.
Yeah, I mean, I also think it's a hard question because if you've been like programmed by capitalism and white supremacy and blah, 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 blah for your whole life, it's not easy to just switch it off or to make a change. So I guess my next question would be like, what do you think that there's like a small thing that you could do differently that might give you more access to rest in your day? Like one thing, can you think of one thing that you could do?
I mean, I could practice like figuring out language that's a positive reframe or like a mantra or something I could say. Like when I do nap, instead of being like, damn, you just wasted time, like how do I reframe that to myself? Like, oh my God, that was like the best use of your time, and sometimes I can do that. And it's just like, oh, when I log back on, I'm like trying to catch up with stuff. What's been helpful too is my son. He'll be like, yeah, take a nap, because he wanted to probably go play his video games or something else and don't want me bothering him. But he's super like affirming too. Like, yeah, take a nap. Like, yeah, go to sleep. Like, yeah, you should do that. And not for any reason, right? Like, you should just do that because that's what you need to do and that's what you want to do. And so I just have to shift that tape that plays in my head and like record a new soundtrack to like rest. Like, girl, that's good. You doing that. You did that, which takes some work. And I think for me, I need to probably like start journaling about it or like write, like come up with a mantra to kind of to say to myself to interrupt that negative messaging.
I think one thing, a really important thing is just setting an intention. And maybe that's something we could do like before the end of this conversation is create an intention around like your sleep or your rest. And like that can really help to start that shift, like to start that reframe, even if your intention is something like instead of talking bad about myself for taking a nap, my intention is to thank myself for resting. Like that's really simple. Like I can just say thank you, and you can do that all the time. You can say thank you when you wake up to yourself. Thank you for sleeping. You can say thank you as you're going to bed for getting ready to go to bed, or like when you take a nap. So that becomes like something that you integrate into your day. Like that practice becomes a part of your practice, and that will help to like shift it for you. And then also when you were talking about your son coming to you and being like, go take a nap, like thinking about like what else supports you in like sleeping. So like I would call your son an ally, like he's supporting you in getting your rest, and thinking more about that too, like who or what else is available to you, who wants you to rest, like who knows that like rest is supportive for you, and also like just helps you know that it's okay. And that could be a person or people, but it could be so many other things. Like for me, like for a period of time, like when I would go to bed, like, so, I don't know, sleep can be hard. Sometimes you could be like afraid to go to bed for dreams or like just anxious, like all types of different things. But there was a period of time where I would go to bed and I would have to open my window just to look at the night sky. And I felt like the night sky was like a sleep ally for me. Just like looking at the darkness and feeling like, oh, I'm connected to the world or something. And it wasn't anything that I need to buy, or like I didn't have to pay for it. I didn't have to get anybody to do it. It's just available, or like the wind, like we've been here sitting and enjoying this breeze. And sometimes like just things that are natural in the natural world can like be supportive if you are just paying attention, to like what feels good for you.
Yeah, lately I've been opening the window, and I shifted my room around, like new feng shui, and so that has helped lately. And I do sessions with a healing practitioner, and been working on like some heart medicine for myself, and so they encourage me to like have roses by my bed, so I have like flower arrangements by my bed now, and that's been helping. And also to like rub rose oil like on my heart, and like at the bottom of my feet. And so like just really trying to like bring in this feeling of like self-love, loving myself, appreciating myself, which that is a part of like if I love myself and appreciate myself, I'll know that I deserve rest. You know, I deserve good sleep. I deserve dreams, or you know, just even if I don't dream, like I just deserve the space to like be still and to rest, right? Like that's a part of that self-love piece. And so there's a ritual that I've begun to practice before bed, which is I normally like shower and like sage and either journal or pull a card, and then I apply the oil, and then I get in the bed. And so it's helped to kind of like make it a ritual, like, oh, I'm going to bed, and so I'm taking care of myself, I'm oiling, you know, I'm seeing the flowers, like all of these things. I mean, it's at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm doing it, but but I'm doing it. But I'm doing it, and so it's really been, you know, I'm like trying to create that practice of like seeing this time as a time to like love on myself.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and even if it is at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, it is what it is. If you're starting at whatever time you're starting, like just like putting yourself into that restful place. Like even though it's not, the sleep is coming later, but that's still like restful activity. It's still contemplative. It's still slowing down and like being receptive to your body, like what your body needs, to, I don't know, what spirit might be coming through, what might be being channeled, like what care you're offering to yourself. So I think that like just to, you know, not get caught up in the actual, like, I gotta be sleeping, I gotta be making sure, because sometimes that becomes a thing too. You start, the judgment comes up there around like, oh, I'm going to bed at 3 a.m. and I should be going to bed at midnight. But like, as long as you're making some effort and like putting some intention into it, and also I think it's great that you like take naps, and that's a counter practice to like what capitalism expects you to sleep 8 hours so that you can wake up and be productive during the day. Like, and also we don't have to do that now. Some of us with COVID, like if you're working from home, you have the opportunity to create your own schedule and patterns around sleep and rest that work for you, because it is different for everybody. Just like everything is different for everybody. Like not everybody sleeps for 8 hours a night from midnight to 8 a.m. Like it might work well for you to sleep from 4 to 6 p.m. and then go to bed at 3, and that's okay.
That sounds about accurate.
That's great.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for affirming that, because Yep, I get some of those. It's not only my own judgment. I think I do get some of those, like, kind of not side eye, but just like smirks. Like when I'm like, oh yeah, me and Terrence were up at 2 in the morning doing this, and they be like 2 in the morning, and I'm all like, yeah, it's the summer, it's summer vacation, so it's like, yeah, I'm like trying to not judge my way, but also like I'm often nervous about like how is my way of being impacting or creating habits in my child, right? And so so I'm just like trying to figure that out, and like how to get him in a nice sleep pattern for himself. And so maybe I can invite him into some of these, like he's an ally for me, but I'm like, how can I be an ally for him, and how can I support him in creating kind of sleep rituals for himself too? Because I have this one that I was developing with my healer, but I realized he doesn't necessarily have a sleep ritual or pattern or practice, and
like
so
bedtime ritual, and just like similarly to morning rituals, you wake up, I don't know what you do, but you know, you make up your bed or brush your teeth, whatever, get ready for work. I encourage people to do that for nighttime, like just give yourself an hour or give yourself 30 minutes to wind down. Listen to me, like whatever it is that you do, you can make a list of things that feel supportive for you.
what are some things on your list that might be helpful as ideas for me and other folks?
I really like baths. I really like to take baths. The water element feels really good for me, so taking baths or taking a shower, drinking water, drinking tea, listening to music or reading. Also sometimes prayer or just like sitting and meditating. You hear that chime? Where did that come from?
I was like, meditation.
Right.
Chime just went off.
Yeah, those are some of my go-tos. But I don't always do those things. And that's yeah, I think that it's okay that it changes, and to know, also like you can kind of notice those patterns, like, oh, maybe for this whole month or something, I've been going to bed much later than I typically do, and to just be curious about that. Like, things, you don't have to try to force yourself to change or make yourself do anything, but I would say like engage sleep and rest with curiosity. I think that that's something like in mental health, like I'm in the mental health field, like insomnia and like sleep disorders, even, they're called sleep disorders, and like, sure, sometimes they are hard for people, like it's a challenge, and that's why they would name it as like disordered sleeping. But I think if that's also a thing that we could reframe, like to not see it as disordered, but to be curious about it, like what's happening, and like I think that just opens up more ways to understand and more ways to intervene around like what you're experiencing around your sleep.
So I know that we've been talking about sleeping, and I know a part of this medicine is also about dreams, and like you speak so beautifully about the work that you do, and like all the dream work that you do, and how messages come to you in your dreams. And I honestly don't remember any of my dreams. Like, I don't know if I'm not dreaming. I'm sure that I am, but I can't recall them the next morning or even after a nap. And so yeah, I have some sadness around that because my father recently transitioned to the ancestral plane, and my sisters like were text messaging, and she mentioned like my dad came to her in her dream, and then I feel all this like, well, damn, like what about me? When you gonna come to me? But it's like he can't come to me because I don't ever be dreaming nothing. It's not like he can interrupt the dream if I don't have any. So it's just like, how do we do dream work if we don't dream?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up. People bring that up often. People who don't remember their dreams, or like, barely remember fragments, or just think that they don't dream. And I think that that's not true. I think that we always have access to dreams, even if it's not in your sleep time. They might not always come to you while you're asleep with that type of dreaming, but anytime that you're awake, alive, like if you're alive, like you can be receiving dreams, and in your daytime state too. So I would say like in your imagination, in daydreams, when you're visioning, fantasizing, like anytime that you're in a state of wonder, like in a place where you can slow down, dreams are available, or you can be receptive to them. You can create dreams. Dreams don't always like come to you. I think that's one of the beautiful things about dreams and dreaming, is that it's so expansive, that it can kind of be anything. It could be right now. Like, this might be a dream. This might be the dream of the earth dreaming us right now. This might be a dream of an ancestor that's dreaming this moment. Like, I know that sounds very weird and abstract, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I think dreaming is always happening. Dreams are always happening. They're always unfolding. And I think it's just about, I shouldn't say it's just about, like, I know things like you really want to connect with your father through that realm, through that plane, and that can feel like a loss if you're not receiving that in the way that your sister might be, or like other people might have those types of dreams. So I don't want to minimize it and just be like, oh, just be in the dream of life. But as you make that intention, like if that's something that you really want, like I really want to connect with him in that way. I would say start there, like start with the intention, and then start to notice, like just start to notice in your life, like where he is actually showing up in the dream of life, and in the daytime, in your waking hours, in your imagination. I would guess that he's coming through. I would think that he's going to come through if you're setting that intention and trusting him, trusting yourself, trusting that whatever or whoever your allies are in this sleep and rest practice are working with you. I think it will likely start to unfold, and also like being patient, and also and feeling, like allowing yourself to feel, that also like supports it to happen.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel like I have access to him and I feel him. It's just, not in the typical dream. Like I was sleeping and a vision came in my sleep and all of that. And there's like this story that I can tell about it. But there are other ways, and I know I've had a session with someone and like a bird flew in and the person I was on the session with like said, "Oh, hey daddy," to the bird. Because their dad had already transitioned as well. And they didn't know that my dad had transitioned. And when they said that, I just started crying. And so she's like, "Oh, well, maybe that was actually your dad. Like, who wanted you to know in this session that he's here, And so there's those kind of moments that I know he's present, So it's just that those are also dreams is helpful to think about. Because I do feel like I have access and ability to dream. Like I dreamt up Parenting for Liberation.
Right.
Like I do a lot of dreaming work and visioning work. Every time I think about the future for Black people or for my child, and I set those intentions and vision board every year, like those are all, I guess, like alive dreams or waking dreams that can be manifest, right? So I appreciate that reframe because I'm always like, I don't dream. And so it's helpful to be like, oh, I dream, just not in my sleep.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And thank you for saying that. I think that that's like totally accurate. And just, dreaming can be everything. Like it's so expansive, like in the way that you said, like you dreamt up Parenting for Liberation. I think that dreaming really offers us, especially Black people, like an opportunity to dream new worlds, to dream new opportunities, to dream new ways of relating with each other, new ways of relating to ourselves. Like we can dream into our wellness, dream into our liberation, parenting for liberation, like it's when we're asleep and awake, like it's the whole experience. And it just doesn't have limits.
Yes. So I'm excited for folks to like watch this video, but also like to be in the practice of dreaming up Black futures, like dreaming up new worlds of what does it mean to be Black and what's possible and what does liberation look like, not only in the future but in the now. Like how do we dream up liberation now for Black people? So I appreciate that because we don't have to only do it when we're asleep. We can dream while we're awake. And those dreams can become manifest is what I really believe.
Yeah, definitely. Can I ask you one last question?
Yeah.
So I usually ask this to, in this work that I do with the Black Women's Dream Lab, we ask people when they share dreams or when they share about their sleep and rest practices, how will they honor the dream, whatever dream it is that they share. So the dream that I heard most from you in this time is, I don't know, I heard the dream of Parenting for Liberation, and I'm curious. I know you're already honoring that dream, but how will you continue to honor that dream?
Ooh, that's a good one. Is that my dad right now? Come on. Give me some space. How do I honor the dream of Parenting for Liberation?
Yeah.
I think what we talked about earlier of me practicing what I preach, allowing myself the same rest, self-love, and care, all the community care, all the healing sessions that I've like supported other parents, like, oh, do this session with Aja, that there was a whole slew of offerings, for parents, and I didn't access any of them. I was like, oh no, we have to create space for all the Black parents. And so this is a moment of me honoring Parenting for Liberation for myself. Is that I have access to the same liberation that I want for so many other Black parents, that I have access to it for myself as well. Yeah.
I love that. I'm very happy we got to do this together.
I am too.
Thank you.
Thank you.